Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Cavender with a brand new letter and letter sound for us to learn this week. And I am so excited to share this new letter with you because it's pretty important. It's going to do some really cool things for us. This letter is going to allow us to finally start putting some words together and sounding out words. And that is because this letter is something called a vowel. Now we have two kinds of letters in our language, consonants, which is what we've been learning so far, and then there's a couple of letters who are called vowels. Every word in the English language, has a vowel in it. So in order for us to start putting words together, we have to know some of those vowel sounds. The other cool thing about this letter is that it doesn't just have one sound. It has two sounds. And while we're going to spend more time with one of those sounds than the other, I'm going to teach you both today, and we'll make sure that we say those every time we see our letter card. So as you can see, our new letter is the letter A, which we all know starts out our alphabet. You've all probably seen quite a bit. And A has those two sounds, which are A and A. So every vowel will say its name as one of its sounds, and we call that a long sound because it can go on and on and on. I could yell that sound forever. A, right? The other sound, ah, is a short sound. It's a short sound. It doesn't go on and on and on forever. I mean, I guess it could if I wanted to let it draw on forever and ever and ever. But when we say that sound, ah, it's kind of short, isn't it? It's a short vowel sound. So when we see the letter and we see our letter card, and we'll go over this in just a moment, we say A says A and A. And today we're going to spend a lot of time with the short A sound, which is A, and you'll be doing some work with that this week as well with your A word families. So let's go ahead and get started. For this week's lesson, just like last week, you will need a piece of paper and a sharpened pencil. Remember, even though Miss Cavender is going to be using a marker, I want you guys to use your pencil because it has that fun little eraser on the end, and it can help us to fix any mistakes we might make because we're all just learning. So it's important for us to be able to make mistakes and erase them if we need to. So go ahead and get those materials now if you don't already have them. Before we begin with our new letter, let's go ahead and look back on the three letters we've already learned. Can you believe it? We have already learned three whole letters and their sounds. So let's start out. The very first one that we learned was the letter M, and we know that M says like in milk. Then we moved on to the letter S, and we know that S says like in sun. And then finally, we moved on to the letter T, and we know that T says like in turtle. Remember how we talked about the letter T is just a burst of air. There's no there's no on the end, right? Because that can confuse us when we start to blend sounds together into words. So T says t. And then we have our fun letter cards, our OG letter cards that we will look at frequently. And we know that when we see them, we see the letter's name and its sound. So I will show you first how that will look, and then we'll do it together a couple times. So M says S says s, T says t. Can you help me do that? Here we go. M says S says s, T says t. Very good. And we'll add one more card to our deck today. The letter A. And like we said before, A says A and A. Here's a sentence that has a bunch of A's in it, a bunch of short A sounds in it. Alice and Abby admired Andrew's apples. There are a lot of ah sounds in there. Can you hear that? Let's listen to it one more time. Alice and Abby admired Andrew's apples. Now, sometimes when we have vowels in words, they will be in the middle of our words. So I want you to just hear this sentence now and listen for the ah sound in the middle of words. Pam had cats. Could you hear the ah sound in between those words? Pam had cats. We'll be building a lot of words that have the ah sound in the middle. So here's our brand new letter card. And just like I said before, we will see both sounds with this letter card. A says ah and A. Can you say that with me? A says ah and A. Good job. One more time. A says ah and A. Now, just like with all of our letters, we're going to look at some objects that we know have the ah sound at the beginning, like apple. You might have gone apple picking this fall, or maybe you eat an apple with your lunch. We know that apple has ah at the beginning. That little bug down there is called an ant. Now, ant has a different kind of sound to it. It might not sound as the same way as the ah in apple. That's because it has a letter N next to it, but it does begin with the letter A and it says ah, ant. And then finally, we have a group of animals up there. Animals starts with the letter A as well. And then we have some words that we know start with the letter A. For example, those little kids up there on the stage are putting on a play and they are acting. And acting starts with the ah sound. Down here we have a big green scary alligator, and we know that alligator starts with the ah sound as well. This little girl up here is watching TV and it looks like maybe there's a sale happening. Kind of looks like a commercial. And we call commercials advertisements or ads, and ad starts with ah as well. And then finally, if you were sick or hurt, you might get picked up by this kind of car down here. It's called an ambulance, and ambulance starts with the letter A as well. Now, moms, dads, and grown-ups, if you would like to take this time or after this video to brainstorm some of your own words or maybe things around your house that start with the letter A, you can certainly do that. It's a great way to practice that, and we would do that in the classroom as well. So let's go ahead and write. I'm going to go ahead and get to my camera. And I have my letter card here for you all. And just like always, we are going to begin by tracing. And we know that we trace with our pointer finger. And our pointer finger is the one we would use if we were pointing at somebody. It's right next to our thumb. I don't want to see anybody tracing with their middle finger, just like I've said before, because our pointer finger is going to help to remind us to use our pencil correctly, use a good pencil grip. So pointer finger out. We're going to trace and say the letter sound at the same time. Watch me do it this first time without doing it with me, and then we'll do it 3 times together. You ready? Just watch me. A says ah and A. Remember, we underline it when we're finished. Great. Can you go ahead and help me now? You can either trace on just your table, or you could trace in the air and skywrite it, or you could write the letter A on a paper and then trace it like I am. All right, here we go. A says ah and A. Again, A says ah and A. One more time. A says ah and A. Great job. Now we get to write. So get out that piece of paper, get your pencil ready. And here again is our house. Remember, we said that some of our letters live in the main floor of the house. And we've seen quite a few of those already. Some of our letters go all the way up to the roof, all the way up into the attic, and like our letter T did last week. And some of them even live in the basement. We haven't met any of those letters yet, but we will soon. Our letter A is just going to live on the main floor of the house. And it's going to take up most of this main floor here. And you can see from the dot that I made, it's going to start right at that dotted line, that middle line of my paper. So I begin here, and moms, dads, grown-ups, if you would like to add that dot there to help your child, you may do that as well. Sometimes that's helpful. I'm going to start there, bump my head on the dotted line, come down again. I'm going to go straight back up and go back to where I started. I do not pick my pencil up. And then I go straight down and give them a tail. There's my letter A. Now let's try again. I'm going to make myself a dot again just to remind myself that I'm going to start at the dotted line. I'm going to start at the dotted line. I'm going to go up and bump my head on the dotted line, come down and curve up, go back where I started. I do not pick my pencil up. I go straight down and give it a tail. All right, we're going to do this 2 more times because I want to make sure I get lots of practice, at least 2 more times of practice. All right, there's my dot to start. I go up and bump my head on the dotted line. I curve down and around back up to where I started, and then go straight down and make a tail. Last one. I'm going to start here at the dotted line, go up and bump my head, curve down and around, back up to where I started, and then straight down for a tail. Again, I don't pick my pencil up until I'm done with the letter. Now remember, just like we always do, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to see which of my letters I like the best. And I think this week I'm going to choose this one because I like how I stayed in the lines and I took up the whole space there. So that's going to be my favorite. You can go ahead and choose your favorite letter that you made that you feel is your best handwriting example. All right, that is our letter A. You're going to have lots of great activities to help you learn this letter and its sound this week. And you're also going to be learning about some word families that have this sound. So go ahead and get started. And thank you for learning with me today.